for being with us here today. So Chef Cindy is going to be showing us one of her amazing pastry creations using some very exciting fruit. But I would like to first find out what your inspiration is for this dish. And can you tell us the name of the dish as well?
Okay, so today we are doing a mangosteen. So we use a local fruit, which Singapore we grow some mangosteen, and it's my local favorite from when I was young. So from there, I created something which from mangosteen and a bit of a crunchy flavor. So you have a different texture, and you can feel the different blend.
What's your inspiration for blending the fruit together with the French cream?
Okay, I like to have different kind of exciting taste of the mangosteen, or even crunchy, or even passion fruit, or yuzu. So your palate will not be in shock if you have different kind of taste, one shot to your throat later. Yeah.
So here in Singapore, we don't like our desserts to be super sweet. Is that something you consider when you're coming up with your creations?
Yes, of course. And especially when nowadays everybody likes to have a healthier option, and fruits are one of the healthier option, which sugar will be lesser, and I will use the real fruit to be one of the elements to enhance the sweetness. Yeah.
So you're relying a lot on the natural sweetness of
Correct.
the fruit. And I think everyone with us here today is local, so you would know mangosteen. This is the fruit we're working with today. But in case you are not familiar with this is one of the best gifts of nature. It's a delicious fruit. It has a really nice perfumed aroma. Not something you normally see in French patisserie, right?
Yes, correct.
So I'm very excited to see how Chef Cindy uses this lovely tropical fruit in her French cream-filled pastry creation. Chef, I'm going to let you prepare.
Okay, so start off.
So you can prepare your ingredients first.
Okay, so start off. We have eggs. And
so I think there are a lot of elements in your dessert.
Yep, so we have eggs and egg yolk and sugar, a bit of sugar, like I said, and butter, ground almond, vanilla powder, flour, and a meringue base with sugar and egg whites.
So what are you making with all these ingredients?
So this will be the almond module for the base of the mangosteen gâteau later.
So it's something like a sponge cake, almond module?
Yes, correct, but it's a very thin layer. So it's for the whole cake, you will have a better balance on sponge and mangosteen cream and mangosteen fruity pulp in all the whole of the cake.
So how many elements are we working with for this dessert? We have the almond sponge.
Yes, we are gonna do almond mangosteen cremo, and mangosteen gel, and then we will be doing as well as all the almond cream whip, and also the dip for the whole of the cake, and then also elderberry jelly.
That's 6 elements here. So this really is a professional pastry chef's afternoon. She's going to be managing all these 6 elements and putting them together into this amazing mangosteen dessert. So let's start with the first element, the almond wallow. What's the first step, Chef?
Okay, so now we add the sugar
into egg yolks.
Yes, and eggs.
Eggs and sugar.
Yep.
And you're looking for a very rich flavor in this?
No, so it's an intense batter before we beat the meringue to add in together. Okay.
So the meringue will give it the fluffiness.
Yes, correct.
But you're going to have the nuttiness from the almonds.
Yep.
And the richness of the egg yolk.
And a bit of vanilla.
And vanilla as well. So is it hard to balance all these flavors? Because you've got your mangosteen, of course, and you have the nuttiness of the almonds, and then you have the milkiness of the French cream. So how do you manage the balancing of all these flavors?
So the ratio is very important. When you create a recipe, ratio for ground almond and vanilla and the flour, and you still need the sponge to be raised up in a level which you want. then you have to calculate very accurately.
And you also want all of the 6 elements in this dessert
Yes.
to play off together nicely. So how do you balance the texture? You want something creamy, something soft, something crunchy. How do you make sure that you have all the textures in there?
Like I said, it's about calculation, and amongst the experience that I have, it depends on what you like in your palate and end of the day. And then you can understand from your friends and family what they really like from different kind of character. Each cake have their own character. Each fruit also have their character. Yeah.
So when you make desserts and when you are creating new creations, you're thinking about what you yourself like to eat as well.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So your biggest inspiration is yourself? Would you say that?
Not just myself, but my family, friends. Yep. All around, my colleagues.
What about travel? Do you get inspired by travel? I know it's very sad to talk about travel now because it's not something that we
that's
do,
why I don't really talk about it.
Oh,
So yeah.
But what about our previous trips? What do you get inspired by?
By their architecture and different kind of cuisine and their way of doing the dessert in a very different way. Even if you have a Turkish delight or something, it's very different. So how are you going to make the differences to let the local people from my country to really like this item and make it nice?
So you kind of adjust all the flavors.
Yeah.
You bring back all these moments and memories from your trip, but you adjust the flavors for your Singaporean
Correct.
audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's perfect for us. And like you said earlier, you don't make things too sweet.
Yep.
Because of your Singaporean audience. So do you really rely on the sweetness from the fruits?
Yes, of course. It depends on where you get your fruit from, and before you really want to make some dessert from the real fruit, you need to taste the fruit first. So from there, then you can understand how to adjust the sweetness. Maybe if not with sugar, maple syrup or honey, it can be equivalent to sugar, because not many people like the white sugar.
So you can really experiment with your sources of sweetness.
Yep.
So we're only on number 1 of the 6 elements that Chef Cindy is going to show us today. So if you have questions for Chef Cindy, type them up in the chat on the live stream. I'll be receiving them. I will be asking Chef Cindy on your behalf so that you can get any burning questions answered. I mean, I'm looking around, there are a lot of ingredients in bowls, so I'm thinking this is going to be a very intricate process. I think I will be asking questions, but I hope you also ask questions of Chef Cindy, and I'll be passing them along.
Yeah.
So what are we doing now? We're going to melt the butter?
We need to melt the butter a little. So to incorporate into the batter, and then we can start to do the meringue, and we fold it in after.
So the texture should be quite light. Is that what we're looking for?
Light and intense, because meringue, and with this butter, which you can see now is quite thick, right? So I want a buttery taste with almond crunch a bit, and with a bit of fluffiness in everything. It's not like the usual sponge cake that we eat, but because this will be quite thin layer and intense, so we want to have it very lightly, so that later on with the tube of mangosteen, you can balance out the whole of everything.
So I know that you are a fan of blending French cream with our tropical fruits, for example, mangosteen, but you also have another dish that is made with passion fruit, am I right?
Yes, it's a yuzu and passion fruit, which I cannot make today because we have a time limit, you know. So we will make mangosteen, as this is quite unique as well. Even for the yuzu and passion fruit, it's also very unique because I use up with cream caramel tea from TWG on the sponge, and I roll it up with passion fruit and yuzu cream, and with a bit of smoky caramel.
So you like that interplay of something a little bit more sharp, something fruity, with the milkiness of the French cream?
Yes.
Why do you love using French cream in your pastry?
Because it's lighter than the usual cream that we use locally. So it's better to have lesser fat, and it's really flow through your throat without even you need to feel a bit gelat here, you know.
So you won't feel that kind of cloying feeling. It's
yes,
very light.
correct. And you really like it. But we also have a very good product like our local fruit, which they don't have. So it's very different in the end. Yeah.
So sorry to all of you out there in Europe. You're missing out on our amazing fruits like mangosteen. What about other flavors other than fruit? Any other flavors you like pairing with French cream in your pastry making?
Many things you involve cream, especially in pastry, but sometimes you can have cream cream pâtissier. It's not too heavy, so you use a French cream as well, right? So it depends on yourself what kind of end product you will really like, and so that in the end you can feel that it's not too heavy for eating the whole of the gâteau, but you can finish it just lightly. You won't feel too full after that.
So you want to give people that feeling that after they eat the dessert, they still kind of want a little bit more, right?
Yes.
Leave them wanting more. That's a good strategy. So now the melted butter is going in. Make sure that everyone can see.
Okay.
And you only mixing it in with a little bit of the almond batter.
Yes.
Why
So,
do you do that instead of just mixing it in directly?
Because right now the butter is still warm. You don't want to cook the batter to fully like a well done, right? So you want to slowly add in with the room temperature, so you won't feel later on when we add in this meringue, it will be good. So we can slowly start with the meringue as well.
So you'll notice that Chef Cindy pays a lot of attention to detail. So while she's busying herself making the meringue, I'll just tell you guys that actually Chef Cindy's background comes from a very unexpected place. She didn't start off originally in the food industry, but she actually started off in engineering. And that's probably why you're paying so much attention to detail. Would you say that engineering is a good start for a pastry chef? I know it's an unexpected path, but do you bring any of your engineering background into your pastry making?
I think in my journey, I have a different kind of experience. So 6.5 years playing music, and right after I go to school for engineering school, and then I was a barista for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So each of the part and journey that I have, it becomes what I see in a pastry. So I was a barista 2.5 years. While in that career, I was doing just part-time, and there's many cakes in front of me. So from there, I start to maybe I should try to do some cooking, pastry, baking some cakes, so that I won't feel I have a few different options in my life. Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us what you're doing now.
Okay, so I need to incorporate all the butter, and the batter together. So getting ready for the meringue to plunk up later.
So after blending in the butter, you can see how much looser the mixture is.
Yes.
And it smells really good, by the way.
Okay.
I know it's not even cooked, but it honestly smells so good.
Yeah, because of the ground almond, it's already in with the butter.
So you've got the ground almonds, you've got the butter that's making it really aromatic. And in case you didn't catch what Chef Cindy was saying just now, she started off in engineering, and then she was working part-time as a barista at a cafe. And you got inspired by all the beautiful cakes at the cafe.
Yes.
So just like that, you decided to be a pastry chef?
Not just like that, but because I saw a lot of different cakes, so I tried out and I go to school for a while. And from there, I start my journey in a hotel. And from there, it's until now, 11 years.
Wow, 11 years. Okay, she says she's been doing this for 11 years. Sounds like a long time, But Chef Cindy is actually one of the youngest executive pastry chefs at Hilton. She was promoted to executive pastry chef at just 27 years old. Do you have any words of wisdom that you want to share with budding pastry chefs watching out there?
No, it's just a very, there's no secret. It's about your determination on what you want to do. In the end, it's about yourself. If you like it, you will do. If you don't like it, you won't do. That's all. Yeah.
They're very simple. If you like it, you will do it well.
Yeah, but make sure you don't get distracted by people saying like you shouldn't do. You just do because you tell yourself that you want to do.
So if you like doing it, just go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah. Okay, so now.
So that's a meringue that we're looking for.
Okay.
And you're going to mix this into the almond batter.
Yes.
So you add in just half first.
Yep.
And I want to just point out that Chef Cindy, you know, when we work with meringue, especially as home bakers, we're very careful. We are told to be extremely gentle with it, not to knock the air out of this. But I've watched Chef Cindy since this morning, and she's actually, you know, she just puts elbow grease into it. So it's very reassuring to see that we don't actually have to be that careful. Is that right?
You still have to be careful when you beat the meringue, but you just need to, when you mix it, you need to be really quick before the meringue really sinks. Okay?
So speed is the
Yes,
key.
speed is the key. Correct.
Let me help you move this. And the whole texture of the almond batter has completely changed. It was very thick and stiff at the beginning, but with the butter and then the meringue, it's become really nice and fluffy and runny.
Yeah.
So while you're mixing that, Chef, I just kind of want to ask you, I heard that you're very into music.
Yes.
What kind of music?
Like a symphony or local music is okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you yourself play an instrument as well, right?
Yes, I play the saxophone.
Yeah.
6 years half. Right now, not really, but because I don't have the time, but for sure, one day, maybe.
So Chef is not just an engineer, pastry chef, also a saxophonist. So have you ever listened to music while making your pastry, or is the hotel environment just too stressful?
No, yes, we do play music every time. Whenever we work together with my team or anything, any music is fine. But if it's for myself, I would really like to hear whatever I like to hear for that mood to really calm, right?
So do you think the pastry turns out better when there's good music playing?
Yes, of course.
Now you know, if you're going to attempt this very intricate recipe, or maybe even just something simpler, get the music going and enjoy yourself. That's the key, right?
Correct.
To have fun.
Yeah, to have fun. And you will make the sponge that you make or the cake that you make more livelier.
So you can taste the movement of the music inside.
Yeah.
So now what you're doing, you're spreading a very thin layer.
Yeah. And then we can bring for baking.
And you can see, actually, you probably can't see, but I'll tell you that I can see the vanilla flakes really evenly distributed in the batter of the almond moilo. And that's really what you're looking for.
Yes, correct. So every bite, you will have almond and vanilla and a buttery, creamy taste. Yeah.
Is that very important, making sure that every bite has the same distribution of flavors and textures?
Yes, that's the purpose why we want to put different elements in a recipe, because that's how you showcase their talent, their ingredient talent in the cake.
In the cake.
Yeah.
And this is a baked element. So how long does it bake for?
So depends on your oven at home. For commercial, like in my kitchen is 10 minutes for 160. But for home bakes, maybe you need to see if the texture is okay. You can try to use your little finger to punch on the sponge. If it's bouncing back, that means it's good. If not, you use a toothpick or the wooden stick to poke it in. If it's not sticky, that means it's done. Okay.
So a lot of it comes down to your experience as well, knowing when something is done. So how does someone go about getting that experience? If they're just home bakers, just keep doing it. Is it?
Yes, you need to practice. But if you follow step by step at the start, it should be fine.
Okay, so first you can follow the instructions, and then when you're good enough, you can just do whatever you want.
Yes, correct.
Free flow.
Yeah, free flow.
So the next element we're going to make is
We will do the cremo.
cremol,
It's a mangosteen cremo.
mangosteen cremol.
Yeah,
so
so-
this is the first element where we are incorporating the mangosteen fruit.
Yes, correct. So the fruit, hang on.
So the mangosteen is going to be mixed into this dessert, but it's not in every single element. For example, just now the almond wallow is no mangosteen in it.
Because this is a mangosteen with almond and cake. So I want to have almond texture, also not just purely mangosteen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I want you to eat like you're eating just mangosteen, but if another element is able to blend in well with them, I think it's really very good.
So it's about
To enhance the whole of the cake
Mhm.
character.
so every layer and every element has its own kind of distinct flavor and texture.
Correct.
But then when you eat it together, it really makes sense.
Yes, correct. You should come to a dinner cakery one time. to
Yes.
try.
So if you want to see more creations by Chef Cindy, remember to head down to Hilton Hotel D9 Bakery. That is your playground where you create amazing pastries.
Yes.
Is this going to be on the menu there as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. With the yuzu and passion fruit as well.
So the two amazing creations that Chef made with the French cream, you can find them at D9 Bakery at Hilton Hotel. What you've just added to the pot is the
Mangosteen.
mangosteen puree.
Correct. Because I use real mangosteen and I peel out the flesh one by one. It seems small, but if you peel out, it's really little. But you know, for
So
long
it's a long job. You have to slowly,
Correct.
seed
Yes.
by seed.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really a labor of love, I have to say.
You really like to do what you like, then you will be able to do it.
And you enjoy it
Yes,
even
correct.
if it's a tiring process.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one of those tasks that you want to have the music playing. You can kind of zen out. De-stress? Would you say it's de-stressing?
Yes. For your mind to be pleasant and for the cake to come out well.
Mhm.
Yep. And for my people to eat happy. It's okay.
So I heard Chef Cindy earlier. She told me that actually her dream is to open a family bakery down the road.
Yeah.
And what sort of desserts would you serve at that family bakery?
Depending on what the people in the market at that time will be like. And of course, we will have a different kind of concept. We need to think of how consumers really get impressed with and different flavors. And I think I'm quite okay with combining different flavors. So yeah.
So is this going to be something that you might put on your family bakery menu in the future?
Yes, yes, and maybe more advanced ones as well.
Even more advanced than this.
Yeah.
Actually, to me, this already seems very advanced, but earlier Chef Cindy said that this is one of her easiest pastries, right? She said she just wanted to show everyone something easy. To me, I don't know if you agree, maybe you guys out there are pastry experts, but to me, this is definitely on the complicated side of things. But, you know, for someone like Chef Cindy, this is just easy.
It's
No
just
big deal.
Mostly it's just cooking. For all the 6 parts that we are going to do, only one part is baking. So I think if you see the recipe clearly, you are also able to do.
So you're heating up the mangosteen puree
Yes.
with sugar.
Sugar is in the
Sugar
egg.
is in the
Yeah,
egg. So
correct.
how do you know when it's ready?
Once it's boiled a bit, you can start to add in egg and sugar. Yeah. And with the temperature of 70.
70 degrees
Yeah.
Celsius. So is this something that people can make at home easily, would you say?
Okay, the only difficult part is the taking out of the flesh for mangosteen.
That's the kind of very laborious
Yeah.
process.
Correct.
Well, I guess it's a perfect excuse to rope in your family, your friends. You guys can just get around a table together, put some music on, that's very important,
Yeah.
and then slowly get the mangosteen flesh off of the seeds. So the eggs and the sugar are going into that mangosteen puree.
Yeah.
And you want this to thicken up?
Yes, it will come out in a very thick batter.
Mm-hmm.
That will become your cremo after you add in the butter later.
Okay. Oh, and it's a really interesting color. It's kind of very slightly pinkish, and that's from the mangosteen puree.
Yes, itself, correct. From the color of the purple, it might stick on to the skin, to the flesh, and then when you poke out, of course, it will somehow stain the whole of the puree.
So it's all natural coloring.
Yeah, correct.
Other than mangosteen, what are some other tropical fruits that you might want to pair with French cream in the future? Something you haven't done already.
Maybe
something really out there.
Maybe you can try a snake skin fruit.
Oh, snake skin! Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Salad. Yeah. So if you've never seen that, it looks like a snake. It's like a kind of a. It's how do you describe that flavor? Actually, that's a very interesting. It's
so you need to bring out each of the flavor. So
yeah,
you have to really experiment each and every time. So,
and that is a real challenge to me, I would think. So obviously, Chef today is very much up for a challenge. Mangosteen, salad, they are all very, kind of very subtle tasting fruits. They have a slight hint of savoriness, I think. So that's something you think would go well with the cream, the French cream?
Yes.
What about something that's very subtle like dragon fruit?
Dragon fruit, yes. Dragon fruit or chiku.
Oh my gosh, I love chiku.
Chiku, yeah.
And chiku is very naturally sweet.
Yes, correct.
Actually, you're so right. That's something that we don't see enough of in pastries. And I really love watching you work with all these local fruits. Is there something that you really like about the French cream that brings out these natural flavors?
Yeah, because it's very light and it doesn't really become yellow with the time that we spend, and it doesn't overweight too quickly like how other cream are actually performing. So French cream are more advanced, I would say. Like they really study and develop the cream, the fat to reduce for us pastries to have a longer shelf life or even longer existing beating time. So we are able to incorporate everything.
Yeah. And you're also able to multitask in the kitchen
Yes,
if you have a longer time.
So
it's really true what Chef Cindy says. All the French cream that I see, it has this really nice snow white alabaster color. And I guess, for home cooks, we don't really think about it that much. But when you are talking about this level of pastry, when it has to look so beautiful and the aesthetics are so important, then yeah, you really need that snow white light color to contrast with all the other colors going on. So I see you've gotten an immersion blender out.
Yes.
What's next?
So after you cook 70 and then you put in a long jar like this, easier. Okay, so you press out the gelatin that you have melted just now.
So this is a gelatin leaf.
Yes.
And you've just bloomed it in some cold water.
Yes, correct. And then you add it in. Okay. And you blend. Why I blend? Because it can smoothen out. After you cook, it might curdle, right?
Okay.
So, and mangosteen puree itself is quite how would I say?
Like lumpy?
Like
texture.
a very rough texture.
Yeah.
So you need to blend it well, and later on when you try the dessert, it will be much more smooth and very creamy.
And you want it to kind of just like melt in the mouth.
Yes, correct. So we add the butter.
Is there a reason why you only add the butter at the end instead of just blending it
So
together?
butter can emulsify your whole of the batter.
Yeah.
So it's a cold butter. It's not just a melted butter. And the creaminess will stay on until the end for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't really blend to become like oil.
You don't want it to split.
Yeah, correct. Okay.
So you just stir the butter in gently and let the heat melt the butter naturally.
Yes, correct.
So when you eat the mangosteen dessert, is this going to be a very rich texture and flavor?
No, but later on we will do the mangosteen gel, which is going to incorporate together with this. Like this we will pipe, and in the middle we will have the mangosteen gel, so the whole thing will blend out very well. this will be a bit very creamy and nice, smooth, and with the mangosteen gel, it looks better.
So we're going to have more than one element that has the mangosteen in it. We've got the mangosteen cremeux, we have the mangosteen gel. That's going to be a really nice, pure mangosteen flavor. And this color is really beautiful, I think. It's kind of custardy, it's got a hint of pinkness, and it's going to be the centerpiece of the dessert, basically.
Yes, correct.
So would you say this is the most important element?
Yes, correct.
Is it? Should I not be asking? Is it like asking you to choose a favorite child?
No, this is the main.
This is the main.
But you need to pair it with different kind of elements so that it can blend really well, like I said. Yeah. So we put this in the chiller overnight. Okay.
In the chiller overnight, so you really want it to cool down completely.
Correct.
And then it will thicken as well.
Yep.
So Chef Cindy has made 2 out of the 6 elements that we are working on today. I keep saying we, but to be honest, I'm just standing here and Chef Cindy is doing all the work, which is actually fine by me, as long as I get to taste later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Okay, that's what I'm here for, really. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask Chef Cindy, please put them in the chat and I will ask them to her on your behalf. I'll make sure that if you have any questions about the techniques, the ingredients, anything you want to find out about the French cream, I will ask her on your behalf. So the next element we're going to be making is
the mangosteen gel.
Mangosteen gel. So we've made one element with mangosteen already. That was the mangosteen cremeux, which you just saw. And now we are going to be making a mangosteen gel. I believe this is probably the easiest step in this whole recipe because it has the fewest ingredients.
Yes.
I mean, this is the only time that I've seen Chef turn around with only 2 bowls. So what have we got here?
Okay, we have the mangosteen puree that you put in the pot.
And this is the same mangosteen puree that you use for the mangosteen cremeux.
Correct. Yeah. And we have sugar and agar-agar powder.
Okay.
Okay. So after when it's boiled, you put it in and you let it boil another time and it's ready. So after when it's set, then you do the blend to make it smooth like a liquid for piping and putting on the insert. Yeah.
So this will have that very fresh mangosteen flavor, while the mangosteen cremeux has the nice rich mangosteen flavor. And you're using agar-agar here, so to me this kind of feels almost like a childhood snack, you know, mangosteen, agar-agar, just like in the afternoon, something you eat.
Yes, correct.
So are you inspired by your childhood when you come up with recipes?
My dad liked the mangosteen a lot. And yep, correct.
So this is something you would want to serve to your dad?
Yes.
Has he tried it yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Soon.
Chef Cindy's dad, if you're watching, you know, after this, you have to ask her for a portion. Does it stress you out serving your creations to your family?
No. Because they will give me a very true feedback on where I should improve, and also how they really like to have in a different types of flavor. Yeah.
So they are your harshest critics, would you say?
No, because mostly they really like what I did.
That's because what you make is really delicious, I'm sure.
Okay, so, you can see slowly it boiling, and you add in.
So the mangosteen puree is boiling. The agar-agar powder and sugar have gone in.
And you just need to whisk it a bit to blend out evenly. And let it boil one more time.
Okay.
And it's ready.
If someone wanted to try some of this recipe at home, but maybe they cannot do all 6 elements, it's too intimidating, which element would you say try out first?
This
one?
Yeah.
Because it's the simplest.
Correct. Simplest, and it becomes a jelly. You can just cut, you put in like this is a liquid right now. You just put in a mold and it comes out with a different shape that you like, and it's a jelly to eat.
Yeah, so just like that, you can have a very simple dessert if this is the only thing that you can do.
Okay, so we put in the chiller.
Okay, so the mangosteen gel is also going in the chiller. Now we have the mangosteen cremeux in the chiller as well. So clearly, this recipe does require quite a lot of planning because you said the cremeux needs to chill overnight.
Yes, correct.
So
the cremeux and the almond whip that we are going to do now also have to chill overnight.
So none of this happens spontaneously. Basically, when it comes to French pastry, you kind of want to plan ahead of time. You need to know what ingredients need a longer time, what techniques need a longer time. So how long do you think you spend from the first time you think of a recipe until it's ready to serve?
You need to experiment each element, each section of the recipe before you are confident on giving out to the whole of the gâteau, of the cake itself. So this 1 little small cake already has 6 different types of recipe. So you can understand that this cake has really intense flavor and very light, and I really want to impress you to see if you really like the dessert with a premium product, good cream, vanilla powder, and chocolate.
So if you were to come up with the idea today, when's the soonest that you will be happy to serve it to your customers?
If today I think about, it will be around 1 to 2 weeks.
Wow, so 1 to 2 weeks of thought and experimentation just to get the product ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're seeing today here is the product of a lot of thought and consideration. We've done 3 elements right now. So what is the next thing that we need to do?
Okay, so next we do almond whip.
Almond whip, okay.
Later on top of the whole mangosteen, you will see 4 little dots on top. Is a almond whip using inspiration almond, and from there we will dig a hole, putting the mangosteen gel inside. So each of the little dots you can cut it through and taste each bite differently.
So this dessert really is all about the interplay of the French cream as the base note, carrying all the flavors of the mangosteen, and then you have that nuttiness from the almond. So I really like how every element has that hint of either almond or mangosteen. So it's kind of one or the other, and then when you have it together, well, I haven't tried it yet, but I think it's going to be really good. So this is the white chocolate.
This is the almond chocolate.
Almond chocolate, okay.
It's already processed with almond flavoring inside. So it tastes really very good. You can have a try.
I will have a smell.
Okay.
Oh, it does really smell of almond. It smells nutty, and it doesn't smell very sweet. Sometimes with white chocolate, you get that sense that it's going to be very sweet and cloying.
So I chose this chocolate because it's very light. It's not that kind of like normal chocolate, white chocolate, which is like a condensed milk base, too sweet, that it want to choke me, that kind of thing. Yeah. So this is very good blend, nicely blend on my chocolate. Yeah.
So you're gonna melt this first?
No, I'm gonna cook the cream.
Okay.
And then we with the glucose and trimoline, inverted sugar. Okay.
So I noticed you have your French cream in 2 batches, the small batch that just went into the pot, and then this other bowl of French cream. Why do you split it up into 2 batches?
Okay, so this is for cooking, to melt the chocolate with the inverted sugar and glucose, and this is to cool it down. So when overnight, it can emulsify nicely, and tomorrow you can get to whip up nicely. Yeah.
So you want to keep most of the French cream quite cold. You don't want to heat it up too much. So this is a question for me because I like to bake at home a lot, and I really struggle with living here in Singapore only because of the weather, and it makes the cream really hard to whip up. What are some of your tips for making sure that we use the French cream correctly, even despite our tropical weather?
Make sure the cream is very chill. It doesn't go to room temperature. Once it reaches the room temperature, it's unable to whip up anymore. Yeah.
So temperature is very important.
Correct.
And do you find that French cream whips up better as well?
Yes, for French cream, it whips up really better, and it's much whiter. As in, it's not too much fat. It's just 5%, so it's very nice. Not much calories as well.
Oh, that's good news. So this dessert is actually very light, and it has fruit in it. So it's basically health food.
Better combination for all.
Yeah. So in here we have the inverted sugar and the cream, and you're gonna bring this to a boil.
Yes, warming up. To be secure, it's better to boil. If once you have practice and everything, you just need to warm it up, and as long as it can melt the chocolate, it's fine.
Okay, but you don't want it to be not hot enough. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
correct. So to be safe for you, if you cook at home, that means you need to be hot and melt the chocolate properly, and then add the cold cream after. Okay.
So we're seeing French cream used in this element. We have the one that's being boiled. We have the cold one. But chef, what are some other ways that you use cream in your kitchen? I mean, whipped cream, of course, crème pâtissier, and crème anglaise, which is like a custard. But what other ways do you use it?
Mostly what you have said, and we can also taste it with just purely cream with scones. I know scones need buttercream, but if you do not have buttercream, you can just whip up the French cream, and it's just as good as it is.
And actually, to be honest, for me, and I'm saying this as, you know, my dad is British, but clotted cream is very heavy, especially in our climate. So I think something like light whipped cream will go very well with the dessert like scones.
Yes.
So the hot cream has gone on top of the almond chocolate. So you just need this to melt gently.
Correct. And you let it melt by itself, and then you stir and make it.
So this is going to be the crowning glory of the pastry, right? The top of it.
Correct.
And this is going to give it that fluffy texture.
Fluffy texture and little. It's not you can see it's not too much sugar. It's inverted sugar is just like a 1%. So mostly I depend on the chocolate itself. So you can taste it just like this without even feeling it's too sweet. Yeah.
Is chocolate one of your favorite ingredients to work with in
yes,
pastry making?
Correct. Because chocolate have many different kind of percentage, different country, different process, and chocolate can really make you feel happy, especially women. Yeah.
Yes, I love chocolate. It's true. I think a lot of people, we're very familiar with classic combinations like chocolate and coffee or chocolate and vanilla. But chocolate and tropical fruit, I think a lot of people, we don't see that. But I have to say, for me, one of the best things I've ever eaten was a dark chocolate and passion fruit tart. So do you like mixing chocolate together with tropical fruits?
Yes, of course. Like the yuzu passion cream, I add in Opal's white chocolate in it for the whip itself. So it blends out very nicely because it's just one part of cream and one part of the chocolate, and it blends in together. And then I can do a very nice spread after.
But you definitely need your French cream to help to carry all the flavors through and mix it together.
Because chocolate itself is just chocolate. You need the cream to loosen down the whole of the temperature and make it more milky in a way. Yeah.
So French cream in your kitchen is like this basic ingredient that you need, and you want to use it to blend all the flavors together. We actually have an audience question right now. Do we need to use a whisk like yours? If we don't, can it still work? You mean this kind of whisk or an electric mixer whisk? Or are you talking about the very big whisk that Chef Cindy used at the beginning? I think because in the market these days, we have a lot of different types of whisks, like, you know, the ones that look like just prongs and they don't look as professional. So I guess the question really is, do we really need professional equipment when we are baking at home?
No, not really. According to this question, is like to use a whisk.
I guess
like
so.
mine,
sometimes, you know, for me also, you know, we see
whisk?
sometimes we see chefs using these really big whisks or big spatulas or even like big baking trays, and it's very intimidating to us, right? We don't have that at home. Would you say that even without that level of professional equipment, we can still create really nice pastry at home?
Yes, you can.
What are the most important tools that we need in a home kitchen?
Whisk.
But any whisk, even just a simple whisk will do, right?
Yes, simple whisk. No need like me, exactly the same. No need. You, as long as it can whisk for you, it's okay.
As long as you get the effect that you're looking for. Even a small oven, as long as it can bake, that's good enough, right?
Yep.
Just make a smaller cake. Is it very difficult to conceptualize small desserts? Because, you know, when we think of dessert as home bakers, we think of like big cakes or tarts. But when we're talking about patisserie, it's all so intricate. So how do you think on such a small scale?
How do you say? Like only can bake big cakes?
I mean, usually when we think about big cakes, we think, oh, okay, one flavor, you know, like a chocolate cake, chocolate flavor. But then for you, you're blending so many different flavors together in a small thing. Is it more difficult to do it that way?
Yes, yeah, I can say this. But like I said, all the elements that different parts of the recipe can be individual by itself. You don't really have to follow me on all the elements in one cake. You can just use that recipe for itself by itself with other things which you have on hand.
So it's about learning the different techniques that are in use here. So like for example, the mangosteen cremo, you can just serve that by itself.
Correct.
Okay, so this is done, the almond whip base. What's the next step?
So we put in the chiller oven.
Okay, another overnight chill. That's the almond whip. I guess one good thing about this, even though it is quite intimidating, these 6 elements that we're seeing Chef Cindy demonstrate, is that a lot of it can be done ahead of time. So you can kind of do all the work the day before and just assemble the dessert on the day of. Okay, Chef, what is the next thing that we're working on?
Okay, so we're gonna cut the sponge.
Okay.
Like just now what we bake.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the almond wallow sponge.
Yes.
And you can see it's like a very, very thin layer.
Okay.
So that's just going to be the base of the dessert.
Yep.
And this is the texture that you're looking for. It smells so good. You can smell the nuttiness of the almonds. You can smell the butter.
Okay.
Let me move this away.
So for this, we prepare first on the cake base. And
okay. So what shape are we looking for here?
Okay, maybe we use this.
What shape are we looking for this dessert?
So I have this eclair shape. Cookie cutter.
Yep.
Okay, so I use a long quick base. Okay, so I'm gonna do 4 of them. Alright.
So you're just going to cut out the shape directly
cut out
from
the
the
shape.
sponge.
It's nicely made. You don't have to worry how many cm you're gonna cut wrong, or maybe this time round is different or whatsoever. One shape and it's for all. Yep.
So everything is going to come out from this mold.
Yep, correct.
Do you have any kitchen disasters that happen to you? Like your cake doesn't rise. Does that still happen to you, or at your level, you know, everything comes out perfectly?
Once when I try to multitask too much, then yes, I will forget that my sponge in the oven and forget
burnt,
and it's a bit burnt. It's not burnt, but it's a bit burnt. Yeah. So
the answer is to focus a little bit.
Correct.
Okay, because I was getting very impressed by your multitasking abilities. You know, left hand doing one thing, right hand doing one thing. So maybe don't multitask too much, is what you're trying to say.
You can multitask with your left hand and right hand, but you cannot multitask another thing in your head. Yeah.
Okay, so the hands can multitask, but the brain must remain focused.
Yeah, correct.
So do you mind making pastry very good for the brain because you're focusing so much? Does it kind of take your mind off other things?
Yes, when I wear this uniform, I start to understand that, you know, I have a mission to accomplish. Every time I need to get inspired. And when my team is doing together, and I need to feel good. And I feel really good when it turns out very nicely.
You feel very proud.
For the cake, I feel proud of the cake that it came out nicely. I'm proud of you, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Actually, just now, Chef Cindy was sharing with me some very inspiring stories, because she was saying that 10 years ago when you joined the industry, it wasn't that common for women to be working in hotel kitchens, especially.
Yeah, correct. And many people will judge you, maybe, and let you understand that, oh, maybe you are not for this trade. But for me, it's about determination, how you want to persevere until the end, and it's about what you like. As long as you like to do, just do. Don't
And
get distracted.
don't get
other-
distracted.
yeah.
by what other people think.
Yes, correct. What other people say.
What other
If
people
they
see.
can tell you about what you should do or what you should not do, you just tell yourself that you want to do.
So just do what you want, basically. I like
Yes.
that a lot. That's a great philosophy.
Okay, so we keep the rest of the sponge because and this, even if you have leftover like here little things, you can actually leave it at the side and become dry up in the oven to become a little crumble.
Oh, like a almost like a sweet breadcrumb topping.
Sorry, so yeah, correct. So you don't have to so you don't have to waste
the little scraps.
yeah, correct, the small parts of the leftover. You
Mhm.
can always turn it to become crumble for the topping on the cake or
Nothing
whatever you
goes to
like.
waste,
Yes,
basically.
correct. Yeah. No wastage.
No wastage. I like that philosophy a lot.
Mm.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have our four
So-
bases.
Yeah. So we put it aside. And then now we start to do the jelly. On the
Mhm.
top for the decoration is the elderberry jelly.
And this is almost the last step, the second last step that we're working on today.
Right.
I guess it's another relatively simple one. There are only 2 ingredients. What are these?
This is elderberry syrup with water and with the gelatin already bloom. It's a 200 bloom gelatin. So like a normal gelatin sheet that you use is very different from this, as a gelatin sheet is much stronger. So you need to cut down or additional, and you cannot go for the micrograms that you can see from here. So each of the powder here, the differences are like you can count in micro rather than the sheet. You have to round
Use
up
the whole thing.
Yeah, correct.
So the next step will be to mix these two.
Yeah. So in the
ingredients
meantime,
together.
we can also melt the cocoa butter.
Mhm.
Okay.
So this is actually another element.
Yeah.
So here we have the ingredients for the elderberry jelly, which is the topping for mangosteen. And then right now, Chef is also going to, at the same time, multitask. Even though we said we wouldn't multitask, but sometimes you just have to. You're going to make the dip.
Yeah. So the dip is for the mangosteen cremo later that we're gonna make. So in the meantime, you can just leave it here to melt, no problem, until you make the cremo and mangosteen stick ready. Okay. So we're gonna add some water.
So this is the last element that we're going to be making today. We've made it to 6 out of 6 elements basically, and I have to say Chef Cindy makes it look so easy. I know she thinks this is an easy dish, a simple dessert, but I hope you guys agree with me when I say that it's not that easy. You know, there's so much going on here. It's so intricate, and I think the final result is going to be so well balanced with textures and flavors. Now, if you guys want to ask any questions of Chef Cindy about all the different processes you're seeing here, the different ingredients, the different techniques, how she uses French cream, where her inspiration comes from, do leave your question in the chat and I will be passing it on over to Chef. So don't be shy, go ahead and ask your questions. Now, what are we doing here?
Okay, so I already melt this on the process. Okay, so later we can come back to this. You have to do bain-marie, so you add the water and to melt the chocolate, chocolate and cocoa butter first.
And that bain-marie is just the simmering water underneath to
Correct.
melt it gently.
Instead of microwave is drying up the moist of the chocolate itself actually. Okay,
so the
now-
traditional way is best.
yeah, the traditional way is always the best. Okay, so we have elderberry syrup and water.
So right now, up to this point, we've been working with a lot of the same flavors. Your French cream, the mangosteen, and then the nuttiness from the almond. But right now, Chef, you're introducing a new flavor. This is elderberry. So how do you kind of mix that into the mix of flavors?
So this will be on top for decoration purpose, and it can enhance the mangosteen and the almond very nicely blend. So you will not just taste of the almond and mangosteen, but a little bit of hints on the elderberry taste at the back. Okay.
Yeah. So just a little hint, and
Yeah.
to bring out the
This is
flavor of
very,
the
very
mangosteen
thin
too.
layer. You will see after.
To me, I mean, mangosteen does have a little bit of a floral taste, so it makes a lot of sense for elderberry to be here because the floral flavor of elderberry is just going to pick up on the flavors in the mangosteen.
Yeah.
This is a very big tray and only a little bit of liquid, so we're making a very thin layer.
Yeah, correct.
And you are spraying some non-stick spray.
Yeah, to for the jelly not to stick later after that. And
so I'm sure it's happened to you before when something that's not supposed to stick ends up sticking, or something that's not meant to be this way.
You need to experiment many times before you make it a final decision and show it to people around you.
How do you overcome that feeling, you know, when you, I think especially in pastry, because like you said, a lot of the stuff needs to be chilled overnight, so you could be experimenting and then you won't know if it even worked out until the next day. So do you deal with the disappointment well when something doesn't work out?
How do I deal with that? Okay, I go running.
Oh, you go running? Wow.
And then I think a lot.
You still think about pastry, or you
yes,
think about
I think about what have I made on the mistake, and maybe on the calculation might have been wrong. So it's about how you can actually change on different method, and tomorrow again when I start it all over again and try until it is good. So
do you ever not think about pastry, or is it just 24/7 all the time?
No. Of course, I think about other things. I read a book, you know, I read stories, and I play games.
So not just pastry, but 90% pastry.
Okay, even if you are swimming, you're running, sometimes it just comes to your mind. Yeah. So when you really like something, it comes to your mind unexpectedly, and you have an idea suddenly. Yeah.
So these ideas just come to you when you have inspiration striking. What do? You stop and you write down?
No, I will memorize. It will come in my brain, so it will stuck there until I release out on the paper.
So your notepad is the kitchen.
So it's more of, especially when I go overseas, inspiration start to come. You know, when you see different things apart from just Singapore, we can see many different kinds of architecture, different kind of cuisine that you really like. Yeah.
We actually have an audience question right now. Is there anything we can replace gelatin with as an alternative? So I believe some of our friends out there don't necessarily consume gelatin. Is there anything that they can use to replace gelatin with for the setting power?
You can do Jello. You can use Jello.
Can you use something
agar-agar
vegetarian like agar-agar?
Yes, you can use agar-agar, but you have to reduce down the percentage, like maybe 50 gram of gelatin. You know, you use just 3 gram of agar-agar powder, that kind of thing. Because agar-agar powder is much stronger than the gelatin.
So you can always kind of experiment in the kitchen and find an alternative that suits you.
Yes, correct.
Well, right?
Yes, correct.
So you were talking about your travels and how you get inspired by visiting different countries. I'm sure you visited France, of course. You work in French pastry. What are some of your memorable pastry moments in France? The best thing you ever ate patisserie in France?
I think every pastry have their own character. I wouldn't say the best of the best, like a wow, you know. At the start, very young age, like 23, I went to France. Maybe it's a wow because it's the first time. But right after, you start to understand that you have tasted a different ingredient, then you will be you will think that maybe I can, you know, incorporate different kind of a pastry already.
So you get inspired by every single piece of pastry that you taste.
Because you learn that people are actually using the natural, like a passion fruit. People are using the natural passion fruit to create something which they want to use. And flourish the whole of passion fruit. That is how I understand from their culture, their way of teaching towards the people around them.
So you're inspired by how they use an ingredient and really showcase it.
Yes, correct.
But I think that's exactly what you're doing today. You're really showcasing the mangosteen and the French cream, and then the hint of almond. So you're going to pour the elderberry jelly out.
Yes, as you can smell now, you can
It has a really nostalgic smell to it. It actually smells like this candy from when we were kids.
yes, but I cannot describe what is
exactly.
that.
I can't place my finger on it, but it has a very familiar smell and aroma to it. So again, this is definitely something that kind of pays tribute to childhood in Singapore.
Yes, I can see that. So you pour the mix that I have just cooked to the tray, which I spray the fat on, and spread evenly. You just need to pour.
So while you are spreading out the jelly onto the tray, and it really is a very thin layer, and you can really see it thickening almost immediately. I guess because it was just a little bit as well. We have another audience question. Does the quality of cream play a part in the texture of the pastry?
Yes, of course.
What difference does it make?
So if I use a cheaper cream or a not that great graded cream that I'm using right now, you can see that the cream itself will not be very smooth. You can see the rough patch in between, and when you feel on your palate, it's quite rough and it's very difficult for you to swallow down the thing, which I use a French cream so that it can just melt in your mouth right away like this.
And you don't get any graininess.
Yeah,
it's very
no,
smooth.
nothing. Yes, correct.
It's not just the cream as well. Of course, when you're using French cream, you're working with the best of the best. And because it's such an important base ingredient in this dessert, then that really matters. But also when it comes to the produce, like mangosteen, so you really rely on your suppliers to give you the best.
Yes, it depends on what kind of supplies you take from. It's not just a usual ingredient you take from the supermarket. Even supermarket, our supermarket in Singapore is very good. You can find very tasty fruits, and you can even find very top cream from France. It's not that local cream is not good, but it has some limit, not as good as their process of science in that cream itself, right? So most of the products that I use are import from very exclusive country, Japan, France, because from there I can get the best out of it to you.
Yeah.
So it's not just about I getting local product. Like a mangosteen, I take a local product, but I need to enhance other elements. So it's like the food is international kind of thing. Yeah.
So you take a very humble, simple local fruit of mangosteen, by adding the high quality French cream and other ingredients, you elevate it into something completely different.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see it's very thin layer. Later it was set by itself already, but I've already made one tray of the jelly so that we can expedite on to see what kind of
it's looking
design
really
will
beautiful.
become quickly. Okay.
It's looking really beautiful.
So before we start that, we need to pipe the cremo that I have done it before.
And this will be the cremo that we made earlier, the mangosteen cremo. So it's going to be very rich and indulgent, but still infused with the mangosteen flavor. And Chef Cindy is just getting all of her ingredients out of the fridge. This is the cremo mix.
Okay, so it's much thicker. You can pipe, and you will think that it's very liquid. So how do I do? You just have to pipe it in nicely, and later on, like I am melting this dip, you just dip it in with a very thin layer of chocolate, and then when you cut it out, it's just beautiful.
It's going to be really beautiful, I'm sure.
Okay.
So we need a piping bag.
Yeah.
And you are going to take the cremo and pipe it into this mold. So Chef Cindy was trying to explain to me that it's actually going to be a tube, which I didn't really understand, but now I see the mold. I'm getting, my head around it. So the sponge is at the bottom, and then you have the cremo, as well as you're going to use the mangosteen gel.
Yes, so cremo first, and then gel in the middle, and you cover up with cremo again.
So it really is like layers. There's going to be the mangosteen gel in the center,
Yes.
and then the cremo on the outside.
Yeah.
So when you cut through, you want people to see the differentiation between the two ingredients.
Yeah. Correct. And you can really taste the mangosteen that you are looking for. So it won't be too much on just creamy and heavy of the eggy smell. So the cremo that I have shared with you on the recipe is you cannot taste the egg smell at all. You can only smell of the mangosteen and the creamy of the texture. So
you're filling up the mold about
Half.
halfway.
yeah.
And then how is this going to set? Does it set in the fridge?
Yeah, you have to set it in the freezer.
In the freezer?
Yes, maybe overnight or at least 12 hours.
So this cremo had to chill overnight. And then when you pipe it in, technically you're supposed to set it overnight as well. So actually, just to get this mangosteen dessert onto the plate, you need around 2-3 days of work and time. So definitely with pastry, you need a lot of patience. Do you think, to me, you seem like a very patient person. Do you think that pastry is a great exercise for patience?
Yes, maybe, yes. You can be impulsive, but when you need to wait, you have to wait. You cannot force it like you want it to be quickly done or whatsoever.
You're still cooking this white chocolate, I believe.
Yes.
So do you want to continue cooking that? Or?
You can just leave it on the stove. On or off is fine. As long as the water below is still hot,
yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah. So this is our element that we're still working on. And now the mangosteen gel is going on top of the cremo.
Yes.
I really love the color
just
of the mangosteen
two stripes
gel.
in the middle.
Just 2 stripes in the middle, so not too much of this.
It's not the full layer, it's just in the middle.
And this is going to be kind of the strongest portion of the mangosteen flavor in this whole dessert.
Correct. But mangosteen itself doesn't have a very strong flavor, actually.
Exactly.
You just have to have a very refreshing taste and very nice blend, even after work or with your colleagues, or even after a big dinner. It won't feel just too heavy to consume the dessert that I've made here.
And actually, the strongest association I have with mangosteen is after a big durian feast. They go hand in hand. When you eat durian, you eat mangosteen. So is durian one of those fruits that you experiment with? Do you like durian?
Yes, I like durian.
Good. Yes, my friend. I love durian. So do you think something like durian would work with French cream, for example, or it's just too strong of a flavor?
No. Actually, if you want to do with durian, is with durian penyet, durian mousse cake. All you need is blend down the heaviness of durian. So the cream can help you to blend down very nicely, so you won't feel too tired eating it after that.
So even though durian is such a strong flavor and a very creamy texture, the French cream is light enough to help to lighten it. What about some other flavors like pandan, some other local flavors? Have you worked with that and French cream before?
Yes, mostly from what I've learned already from when I was a commis, it's already a French cream. Yes, I use before local cream, but it doesn't really help as it's become turned yellow. From you want it to be very white and fluffy taste and light taste. It become it's quite split out very quickly, and it turns out very yellow.
So what about other local flavors like even our kopi or pandan or gula
Melaka? Yes.
Oh, you are very excited about gula melaka. Is that one of your favorite ingredients to work with?
Correct. Because gula melaka, I don't have to add any white sugar. It's just by itself.
So you're getting a lot of flavor out of the sugar.
Yeah, correct.
Not just sweetness.
It have its own unique taste already. You don't have to worry about if it's too sweet or the flavor doesn't come out. It just come out by its own.
I guess a lot of our local desserts in Singapore and in this area, we rely a lot on coconut cream. So would you say that you can replace some of the elements of coconut cream with French cream instead to give it more lightness?
cream itself is quite heavy as well.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the percentage that you're taking. But if you balance, you can also add a bit of milk inside
Mm-hmm.
to balance out the cream, the whatever ingredient that you are using,
Mm-hmm.
so that it doesn't get too much heavier. Or you can add a bit of a citrus, orange or lemon,
Mm-hmm.
and bring down the too creamy flavor.
Yeah.
So it become more refreshing at the end.
So these are our tubes with the
Mm.
mango cremor and the mango gel on the inside.
Yes.
And then this is going to go into the
Freezer.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
I really love all the questions that you guys have been sending in, by the way. If you have any more, don't forget to put them into the chat and I will be sending them on to Chef Cindy. I think we need to start plating up the final dish
Yes.
as soon as possible, which works for me because that means I'm also one step closer to getting to taste this beautiful mangosteen dessert. So, what is next? What are the final steps that we need to do before plating up the final mangosteen dessert?
Okay, so we have to check on this.
So this is the white chocolate, the Opolis white chocolate that's melted with cocoa butter.
Yes. Okay, so it's melted already, and you just have to okay.
So it's a very gentle melt
Yeah.
that you want.
Correct. Okay, you can take it out.
Okay, I'll
Right.
take this away. And next, you're gonna add in
The powder.
some coloring powder.
Yes. If you can get a mangosteen powder, will be okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, it depends on how you can get.
So this is the outer layer of the mangosteen dessert, and it's supposed to look like this, right?
Yes.
Purple on the outside, then nice and white and creamy on the inside. So you really get the feeling of eating a fresh mangosteen. So now you're blending this up, and then you're going to add in another ingredient as well.
Yes, correct. I need to blend up the color. Okay.
So you just need to emulsify the color
Yes.
powder with the white chocolate.
Yeah.
And then after that, what would be the next step?
Yes. Oh, yeah. After that, we can. I already pre-made the mangosteen stick, so we can straight away dip it together and put on top of the sponge that we have cut just now.
Mm-hmm. So as you're blending, we're going to see the color change.
Mm.
And you can see how when it's emulsified, it goes from a little bit of a dull purple to this really beautiful, vibrant purple when the coloring is emulsified with the white chocolate and the cocoa butter.
Yeah, and depends on if you want a very light color, you can always add a very light color. You don't have to be too dark. It depends on the color contrast that your eyes fits on.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's comfortable, it's fine. You don't have to add on too strong color so that you can see that color very clearly. Pastel color is also very beautiful.
And you've added the cocoa butter into this mixture,
Mm.
but white chocolate is also mainly made of cocoa butter. So why the additional cocoa butter?
Okay, so white chocolate have that milky inside, and it's already temperatured it to a level where it gets set very easily. So cocoa butter is oil to loosen up, and I really want to have the very thin layer coating on the mangosteen later on, so you won't get like too thick of a chocolate covering up the tube later.
Because you really don't want this to taste like a chocolate dessert,
Mm.
right? And you can see the color has really changed. It's looking so beautiful right now. And once it's all blended up, you're going to add some more stuff to this dip. And I think that is this.
Okay.
You're adding this in as well.
Yes. Okay, so we pour it to this, right?
And you're adding these, which are?
These are the almond nibs, so that you have a very nice, like a Ferrero Rocher, but it's a mangosteen Rocher. Okay?
I would buy that 100%. If that was available in supermarkets, I would 100% buy that. So you're going to get a bit of the crunch from the almonds as well.
Yes.
And it's going to be on the outside, and it's all the different textures.
Mm.
So how do you know how much almond to put in? What are you looking for in terms of ratio?
Okay, so this is actually already measured, but I don't want to have too much almond in it, as I don't want the whole thing to be too overcrowded by the almond. So it depends on how much you like to eat as well, on the almond of the crunchy on the outside. If you like a lot of almond taste, then you add a lot. But if you just want a few bites of it, then you put a bit little.
And we actually have a question coming in from the audience right now. Thank you so much for sending these questions in. Is there a reason why you went with almonds specifically instead of other nuts?
Almond nips itself have a very bland taste, very delicate taste, rather than like macadamia or hazelnut. Hazelnut have a rougher texture and a rougher, to my palate, it's quite rough for me, right? So almond can blend in more milky on the other side, which hazelnut is too heavy that it gonna cover the cream itself that we are actually working with, and also it's gonna cover the mangosteen, which I don't think is really work for mangosteen. Yeah. So we actually experiment with hazelnut, but it turns out that hazelnut actually overpowered the mangosteen itself. Yeah.
So it's all about the delicate balance between the mangosteen, the nuts, and of course the French cream, because you still want to have that nice milky, creamy taste in the dessert.
Yes, correct. Like I said, I want you to taste every bit differently. All the elements that I put in, you need to taste it with different flavor, different aroma in your palate.
Okay, so our dip is complete.
Yeah.
What are we needing to do for the next
now
step?
Before we dip, we can
so this is the elderberry jelly that was prepared earlier. The very thin layer of that reflective, glassy elderberry jelly. And this is going to go right on top of the dessert, right?
Yes, correct. After we have done all the whipping and everything is going to be good.
So is this another one of the elements that you would say you can just make this by itself, even if you can't make anything else, even if all of this other stuff is a little bit too much?
Yes.
This is something that you can just eat by itself.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Okay, so you see the glossy part?
It's beautiful. It looks almost like a glass sheet. It's really reflective and nice. And it is so thin. It's wafer thin. So I think this part is going to require some delicate hands.
Okay, so I use the same cutter.
The same mold?
Yeah, so you don't have to headache how much I want to cut. So you use the same one. I'm going to cut 4 out.
Yep, and as Chef is just cutting through, it's coming off in this really thin, beautiful layer. You can really see exactly how delicate this element is.
Okay, so I cut a few in case, right? Okay, so we put it aside first. And I'm going to bring out the mangosteen stick. So we do a dipping run. Okay.
So I guess in this sort of dessert, mise en place is very important, where everything is, because you want to move fast, you want to dip the mangosteen stick into the dip.
Yes.
And then you don't want to drip all over the place.
Yeah, so you have to be very quickly done.
And you have to be, everything has to be in place.
So that you get a very thin layer instead.
So the mangosteen dessert is almost done. We have a few more elements. What are we making right now?
Okay, so just now we cook almond whip. Now we're going to whip it up.
Okay, so we're going to put the whip into almond whip. So I love these layers of the different flavors. You have the almond in the almond sponge. And then inside this tube, you've got mangosteen cremeux, mangosteen gel, the almonds on the outside, and now almond whip. So I really love this idea of layering the almond and the mangosteen flavors. We have not a question, but a comment from a viewer, just to tell you. They say it looks amazing and that it looks mouth-watering. So
thank you.
I would love to send this directly into your mouth, but it does look amazing. It looks mouth-watering. And actually, the smells going on in here are really great. The almond whip is going into the mixer.
Yes. Okay, so this is after set, like overnight. So I pre-prepared first to let you see how it can turn out to be. So it's very thickened here. So after you whip it in, it won't be as thick as it is because it's already whipped up. So the air already go in very nicely. Okay.
It actually looks like it has really nice texture, but it's going to be a lot fluffier after it's whipped up. And this is the element where you incorporated a lot of the French cream. So this is going to be nice and fluffy and give you that beautiful mouthfeel. So Chef Cindy is just whipping up the almond whip. For me, I think that is a very exciting element because right now what we see, we have the snappiness, the crunchiness of the nuts, but this is going to give you that airy texture. So do you feel that it's very important to incorporate something fluffy, something airy in every dessert?
Not on every dessert. Like if you are creating 10 dessert, then you must have different kind of excitement in each and every dessert. Especially if you really like to have adventure for yourself, then you will be more interesting in each element have like 6 or 8 different parts of recipe, but it's bring out a wonder in just one. Although it's like you see it's one, but inside there are 6 parts of recipe.
I love how Chef Cindy is very confident that anyone can just eat 10 desserts in one night. You know, we have to make it different every 10 desserts. But I think for a lot of people, maybe 1 or 2 desserts is all we do. Me though, yeah, 10 desserts, no problem. So your almond whip is ready.
Yeah, it's very quickly done for this. After it's rest overnight, it's for me it's very quickly. It can whip up.
So what's the texture you're looking for? Something quite stiff, fluffy?
Yeah, correct. And because it's almond, so the nut oil and everything is all inside with chocolate, you know. Because here, inside this cremo is already quite light. So you need to have some balance on the cream or on the top. So you can have this little smell of a little almond. Like I said, it's blend nicely rather than the hazelnut.
And even just standing next to this, I can smell the nuttiness and the aroma of the almond. So I think this is really going to add a lot of flavor and texture to this mangosteen dessert. It really has an amazing fragrance, even just here.
Yes. So I'm gonna use this nozzle, the round nozzle, to do my decoration.
And it looks like it's going to be very nice and milky. I think sometimes when we work with cream and you overwork it, it comes out tasting a little bit oily or a little bit too buttery. So with French cream, you don't have that problem?
Not really. It depends on your recipe as well. How much ratio you have already calculate in on each recipe. Yeah.
So you're looking for something very fresh, creamy, milky here.
Refreshing, creamy, because mostly dessert always comes last. And I really want my people to eat my dessert fully. So this stick here, you can finish it like this, even if after you have a heavy meal. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you're piping the almond whip onto the dessert. And just in these little mounds. Even as Chef Cindy is piping, you can see the fluffy texture of the almond whip. You know, it comes out of the bag really easily, and that is because in this element, there really is mostly just French cream, and then you have the almond white chocolate.
Okay, so you can see a bit rough on the outside, but it's okay because it's a nut-based chocolate. So for sure, it will come out a bit rough, so it's normal.
That's the nuttiness of the chocolate.
Yes, correct. So
and now you are going to...
Okay, I'm going to do some decoration on the
decoration. So this is the part where your artistic creativity comes into play.
Okay,
no?
you will see.
Why you laugh? You don't think you're artistic?
Okay, you see.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so I do the melon scoop.
So a melon scoop, and you're heating it up with a blowtorch.
Okay, so I open up the hole.
And you're just dabbing it in. You're making kind of a little well in each thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to fill these with something, or it's just for decoration?
Yes, we're gonna fill this with the mangosteen gel that we made just now. Okay.
So even just in the topping, you're having that interplay between the almond and the mangosteen because you've got your almond whip, and then you're gonna fill these with the mangosteen gel. So you're really emphasizing the relationship between the almond
And the mangosteen.
mangosteen.
Yes.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Honestly, it just makes me like smile because the colors and the textures that are all piled up on top of each other, they are so beautiful. It's
Okay.
almost done. Honestly, to me, this is looking very, very intricate, very professional, very well done. But for Chef Cindy, it's not enough. She has one more element that she wants to add to her mangosteen dessert.
Okay, so we have the jelly just now that we made. Okay, so I'm gonna take it out.
So this is the elderberry jelly that we
Okay,
made
so
earlier.
I need to oil a bit on my gloves, so it's easier for me to take out the jelly.
I guess this is the last step. You don't want this to go wrong here, right? So this is the part that you need to take a little bit of care with. And to me, these sheets of elderberry jelly look so delicate,
Okay.
and you have to be very careful at this point, right?
You need to be quite gentle. You don't want to tear the jelly.
But would you say that in all your actions, confidence is the most important? If you do it confidently, then it will succeed.
Yes. You don't be scared of them. They will listen to you.
They will
Very,
listen to you.
Yeah.
Just now, Chef Cindy said something really interesting, because I was saying for us home chefs, we are sometimes very scared. We move very carefully. She said at the start you're very scared, but after a while the ingredients listen to you. You
Yes.
may let them be naughty for a while, but then in the end,
Yeah, in the end, they will listen to you if you are okay with them. You are nice with them, you talk to them. At some certain time, you will have the urge to talk to the cake. You know, you want to make it nice and say, okay, be good, you know, that kind of thing. But in the end, it comes out very nicely for you once you have already be confident and make friends with the ingredient. Actually.
so if you're nice to the ingredients, they will be nice to you. That's really nice.
Okay.
So we have one last question from the audience just before we present the final mangosteen dessert. I think there's one more step, but it's from an aspiring pastry chef in the audience. What do you get inspired from when designing your pastry?
Inspiration always comes from architecture, whatever I see on the street, on the people, on their stories with me, like they went for overseas and what they see, and I will imagine in my own visual self, and it's mostly part of my travel, but right now I cannot do travel, so we have sometimes video call with friends, you know, they will show me around, even on their own hometown somewhere, and then from there you can get some inspiration on what they are eating right now, what they are looking, how is their ambience around them. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. So anything around you can become inspiration for
Yeah,
your pastry.
correct.
Yeah. And I think you have one last step. that
Okay,
you wanna do.
so I will add on some silver flake.
Ooh, silver flakes. Wow, this is a very luxurious final touch. And the silver really offsets the purple beautifully. Is there a reason why you chose silver rather than, you know, we always see gold leaf on desserts?
Silver is better for comfortable eyes for me to see. Rather than gold, it might be too striking for the purple. Because purple is a very intense color already. I want a pleasantly blend color to see, and you are eating it without having any fear.
So just now we had an aspiring pastry chef ask a question. What advice would you give them? Someone who is young, just starting out, really wants to be like you one day. What would you say is the most important thing that they have to remember?
They have to remember that they need to be determined and don't get distracted from other people. For what they say, really know what you want out of it.
So just to be determined and to also make sure that you are only listening to yourself and your own heart.
Yes,
I think that's a very meaningful
and
message to leave everyone with.
with the people around you, the support from family is very important. Even if you just are not sure if you really like this line, you can always try, but try it with inspiring platform like you see people outcome don't think that people can do it. Of course, you can do it as well.
I like that a lot. So the final touch that you just added to your mangosteen dessert is a little bit of silver leaf.
Yes, correct.
And is that it?
Yeah, that's all.
Wow, it's so beautiful. These are the 4 little mangosteen desserts that Chef Cindy has prepared just like that. She made it look so easy, but I think that is a labor of love, especially peeling the mangosteen.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to taste this. I'm sure you guys have enjoyed this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chef Cindy, any final words you want to share with our audience?
I hope you enjoy the dessert I've made. You can come over to Delight Bakery anytime. I will be there. I might not be there, but the pastry will always be there.
The pastry will always be there, and the pastry is from your heart, so your heart will always be there. Thank you so much for showing us this amazing dessert using French cream here today, Chef Cindy, by showcasing the French cream and the local mangosteen. This is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for spending time with us, and we'll see you next year at the 2nd edition of Cream of Europe Pastry Show.